Hello, everybody. All right, today is Friday the 30th. Today was our Hallows Eve, so we had fun this morning guessing each other's costumes. We wearing our orange and our black afterwards. We did our morning movement. We read Spookly, the square pumpkin, and then we got into ordering decimals. So ordering decimals, we did some problems from these pages 68, 71, 72. So let me show you what that looks like. So ordering decimals, make this bigger. All right, so what we learned yesterday, we did a little review about the importance when you have, let's say we have 7/10, and let's say we have 53/100. And let's say we have 56/100. Whenever you have tenths and then hundredths and they're not all the same, they don't all go to the last place value there with the hundredths, you need to change and make them. So here you can add a 0 to your hundredths place because you don't have any hundredths. If there's nothing there, you have 0 of them. Okay, so we can add a 0 at the end of our decimals. Now it's really easy to see. So let's say I'm putting this from least to greatest, meaning I want to start small and end up with my largest. Well, you can ignore the decimal and just think of this as whole numbers. So 70, 53, 56. Or you can think of this as this is 70 parts out of 100, 53 parts out of 100, 56 parts out of 100. However you're thinking about it, we know that we're going to have, another way that we talked about today was with the place value. So here we see that they all have zeros. If we go to the tenths, we have a 7, a 5, and a 5. Well, the 7 is much larger than the 5. This is 7/10, this is 5/10, and 5/10. So I know that's going to be my greatest number. Then I've got 53/100 and 56/100. So here 53 is less, so I'm going to put that first. And then 56/100 in the middle. And then again, check 53, 56, 70, small, all the way to big. Okay. Another way you can write these is with the place value chart. So let's say we have ones, our decimal, tenths, and hundredths. We can put our decimals in the place value chart. So let's say we had 1 and 32/100, 1 and 54/100, 1 and 4/10. Okay, so I tried to stress the best that I could today about the importance of not just looking at this and saying, oh, 1 and 4/10 is the smallest because it's the smallest number of digits. When you do that with whole numbers, that's allowed. It's not allowed when you have decimals because here's what happens. You add your 0, and now all of a sudden, everything's the same amount of digits. You can see that that's not the smallest. So almost always they will put that in there into questions. You'll see it on your benchmark. I can almost guarantee it. You'll for sure see it on your STAR test. If you want to get it right, you have to remember, let me put this like in a place value chart. I can see that that hundredth is missing. Let me put it in there. And then now I'm ready to compare. So here you have a 1, and a 1. All of these are the same, so we can't stop and compare. We have to keep going. Here, we've got a 3, a 5, and a 4. If I want, let's go least to greatest. If I want the smallest, then that's going to be this first one. So this one right here would be my first. Okay, that's the smallest. Then 4 is the next smallest number, and 5 is my largest. So if I was going to order these, I would put first, I would have 1 and 32 hundredths, comma, 1 and 4 tenths was next. You're usually going to see they're not going to have the 0 in the answer choice. So you can, these are the exact same, they're equivalent. Okay, so 1 and 40 hundredths is the same exact thing as 1 and 4 tenths. So you can write it either way. In an answer choice, you're going to see it back as the 1 and 4 tenths like it originally started. You're just adding that 0 to help you. And then here, the 3, 1, and 54 hundredths. So then that's me ordering them. And that was what we practice. Again, those pages you can go look at 68, 71, 72. Those can be for practice. And then in independent work, we had a Google Classroom quizzes that we did. And let's see, for Seesaw activities. All right, in the reading. There it is. All right, in reading today. All right, let me start at the beginning so you can see what needs to be turned in. So we started here. Here we moved these pieces over here, put them where they go. Here we read this and filled out reasons and evidence and examples that the author gave. Here we filled in this over here. Here we filled in these boxes. We created our own to the side and we added our own facts and opinions. We read the school uniform debate. And then we listed reasons why they said yes and why people were saying no. We talked about, this came from the article right here where it talks about the First Amendment. First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects our freedom of speech. This includes, so there's 3 things that it includes. We put that in each of those boxes there. Here, we took the line and dragged it to the right box. So there's reasons. We matched it up with the text evidence. Here, we switched roles. So instead of reading other people's reasons, now we wrote our own. So we decided whether we were for them or against them, and then we added our reasons in here. And then on these questions, I told the students they could either pick and do all the even, so 2, 4, 6, and 8, or they could do the odd, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So either pick the even numbers or the odd. You can decide, and you're doing that. Then our independent work has been on this haunted house that we're trying to sell. So here we filled in the brainstorming page. So students had an introduction, the body, opposing claim, and conclusion. They had one of these per day to fill in. And then this is where they put their final writing. So they take all the pieces where they were brainstorming, put them into complete sentences, and that goes here. Then there's reading. All right, then in writing today, we didn't work on the apostrophes. I'm going to take that off. All right, students were doing really well with those, so I spent more time on this. We needed a little bit more help in the opinion writing section. So back in Seesaw, if you go to activities, we're going to have to break it down more. I was looking at the ones that were turned in. I wasn't overly thrilled with what students worked on. I don't really feel like some did great. Some I don't feel like I feel like I was teaching the lesson and I was showing you, okay, this is the exact way that you do this certain type of thing. And then when students had the time to go practice doing that certain type of thing I had showed them, they still went and did their own thing. So we talked about this week 3 different ways to do an introduction, and then we had practice time where we went and practiced that style. And it was, like I said, overall not what I wanted. So we're going to break it down even more next week and work on introductions again. We can't move on to the next part until we get this first part right. So we're going to go back over again. Hopefully we'll have some better outcome this upcoming week. But what we did is we looked at a prompt. So we've been working with the same prompt all week. Explain one animal you think would make the best pet and explain what makes this animal special to you. So we did some brainstorming. We chose our animal that we wanted. We made a central idea. The central idea has to be in the introduction. This is where you're answering what it is that you are, like if it says, what do you think would be the best pet? You need to tell the reader, this is what I think would be the best pet. So that part right there is very, very important. So we filled that in with our animal. Then we talked about one type of introduction, which is asking a question. And we chose, there are some ideas down here of questions to start off with. We picked out something and we filled it in. We chose which one and then we drafted. So we started with our question and then we set our central idea. The biggest thing that I saw here was that there wasn't a connection. Whatever your central idea is, it has to, everything has to flow. It can't be like 2 things that you just squish together because Ms. Snyder said you needed a hook and a central idea. You have to make them connect. Okay. If they don't, they sound like, it sounds like 2 puzzle pieces that don't, like 2 puzzle pieces from 2 different boxes that don't fit together. It just doesn't work. They have to flow into each other. Then we learned about the funnel. And with the funnel, you start off very broad and then you get narrower as you go down. So it says there are many different types of pets, such as blank, blank, and blank. However, I think blank would be the best pet. Let me tell you why. Now, this is one of my favorite ways to start off an introduction. That format, that skeleton of there are many different types of, or there are many different blah blah blah. Whatever your topic is about, that you're supposed to be writing about, you just plug in. And so it really works just for about, like I've never come across a prompt that it hasn't worked for. And so and then this is everything you need for your introduction because it includes a part in there, the second sentence, however, I think blank would be the best pet. That's you putting, that's the central idea. You're telling the reader what you think. And then it's the hook is that first part when you're getting them thinking about the different types of pets. So this is one of my favorite ways to start. I think it's simplistic enough and it like it does everything you need to do. And I think it gives a good, strong introduction. So we'll definitely be practicing this more next week. And so students, we added a page where we took this and we practiced a little bit more with that. Hold on. All right. All right. The next thing we learned was about an anecdote. So an anecdote is it's just this little snippet of this little personal perspective. It's just like this little story that you can add in. And this is a great way to connect with your reader. But again, it can't be those 2 puzzle pieces that are from 2 different boxes. It has to connect with what you're talking about. So about a pet. And then it has to connect also with your central idea. So I put, I once had a golden retriever and we named him Rusty after the color of his fur. Even though he was a retriever, he wouldn't fetch anything. He was the absolute sweetest, though, and I loved him dearly. He is why I think dogs are the best pet. So here I gave my story about my dog I used to have named Rusty. I told you a little bit about him. And then I told you why. So I connected it when I said he is why I think dogs are the best pet. So here's that central idea again, me telling the reader that I think dogs are the best pet. Now, students were trying to do all kinds of things here. When I read them, they were going in and they were adding their reasons after. They were making it too long. It's just really like just short. This is one, two, three, four little sentences, and then I add my central idea, and that's it. Okay. All right. On the next page, there's one, two, three, four, and five. So I wanted students to pick one of these choices. So let's say they pick number four. Then they're going to go with one of the types of introductions that we learned. So if they pick question, they could start off with this, with a similar question than what it's asking you. If you found a winning lottery ticket, what would you do? And then they're going to say their central idea of they have to answer it. So they're going to say what they would do. And then that's it. They stop there. They do the hook and then they do the central idea, and then that's their introduction. The thing that I kept seeing is students keep trying to add reasons to their introduction. An introduction does not have reasons, it's just a hook, their central idea. Okay, so once they were done, once they picked one of these, they were supposed to delete the rest and then turn that in. Then we went to lunch and recess. Then in Seesaw, we finished this last page here. We talked about these houses and things like this that are all these things that are built on these coastlines, about whether or not that's a smart idea. And so this prompt said, or this situation says, your family comes up to you very excited to share that you're moving to a new house right on the coastline. What would you tell them? So here, we watched this video, and it's all about coastal erosion. So remember, erosion is that movement. Okay, so whenever you have these pieces that have broken off, there's going to be something that causes them to move away. And so here you have this coastline where this land right here meets this water, and think about the waves in the ocean are constantly coming up, splashing against this land over and over and over. And this was talking about how, different types of rock, some will be a much slower process, but some, if it's a lot softer, it's happening more often. And then with things that are happening, climate is changing, things like that. We're having these more severe types of weather that's increasing the erosion and the weathering and all of that that's happening. And so here you can see this coastline probably came out quite a bit, and over time it's wearing away. So if you're going to move right up to the coastline here, is that a good idea for a place to be building your house? So students responded in this open place here after they watched this video here. And then we went down to 4 days. I have social studies on here each day, but because of library, we've moved it down to 4 days a week. And so everybody had turned theirs in yesterday, but we had a little bit of time where we got the week 11 finished up and turned in. And then That's it. All right, then we went and worked on this intervention time. So we did all 4 days of this and turned this in. And then there's another thing in here I talked about. All right, if you got invited to tutorials, so if this popped up on your screen, it went out to 13 people, then make sure you have your family sign that, whoever's going to give permission. And then this here is a benchmark review. So starting next week, we have our benchmarks. And so I found some questions from some just different topics that we've talked about. And I recorded myself of how I would solve them. And I said, this isn't mandatory. This is just optional if you want to help study. I said, you can, work on these problems. There's 10 pages. So if you do a couple pages a day, by the time next week we get to our benchmark on Wednesday, you would have, gone through all the different topics. And I said to, try solving them first to see how you're doing, and then check mine and see if you got the answer correct. And I'm showing, the strategy that I go through and things like that. So, some of these things we haven't talked about since August, so it's been a while. And, we do our daily review where we're bringing up old topics, but still, you want to make sure that these things are fresh in your mind, that you'll be ready to go for your benchmark so you can really show your understanding on that test. So here you have, each page has a different topic, and then each page has the recording. So complete it first, then check. And then we had this build a jack-o'-lantern was on right here on Google Classroom. And then that was an option for students to do. There was a zoo tour thing that they could do. And then this online pumpkin carving. We had some fun Friday at the very end during our intervention time. And I think that was everything. So we finished up Red Ribbon Week. And then next week again is a big testing week. We've got 3 benchmarks, Wednesday, what's the 4th? 4th is Wednesday. So the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll be testing. So I'll send out some more information about that through Seesaw. So make sure you're checking those. All right, thanks.